Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Parkside Cabin Rentals. Come breathe the cool mountain air, folks. That's how Hank Jr. put it in a song many years ago, dating myself. And you can do that. You can breathe the cool mountain air. You can enjoy the mountains. You can enjoy the relaxing sound of a mountain stream right beside your beautiful cabin that you rent from Parkside Cabin Rentals. Visit their website. You will be so glad you did. These places are just, they've got them for all sizes, whatever size group you need and you want to take up there, but they're all just laid out perfectly with the entertainment that they have inside, and then of course nature on the outside. ParksideCabinRentals.com is where you need to go if you're looking for a place to stay this summer or this fall in the Smoky Mountains. All right, mention this going into break. Tyler Barron made the comment this week, and this is from Go Vols 24/7, written by Mr. Ryan Callahan. But here are some of the quotes that Tyler Barron had. It's a totally different atmosphere in this building. I tell everybody, coming in from our season last year to this year, you almost can't even call it the same program. It's a totally different mindset. People are taking more advantage of everything. It's going to be really positive. The biggest thing for me is the mindset of the team and the mindset of the building. Everybody is looking for how they can improve more so than just getting through. Everybody's determined. All the new guys are buying into the program. Coach Heupel's leading us in the right direction. We're just happy to follow him. Okay, look, you hear this every time a new coach comes in. We heard it when the guys who were here under Butch, then they got Pruitt, and it's like, oh, it's so much better now. I got that. But this is a little different because it's not just we believe in this guy and he knows what he's doing. It's mood, it's atmosphere, it's their own drive, it's them feeling good about themselves. And well, I'll just go ahead, Ryan. You did the story, but where some of this stuff you hear it every time there's a coaching change. This one seems a little different to me. I'm more likely to believe that these guys are having fun again. Your thoughts on what they were saying?
Yeah, and I believe it too. This is the big difference for us this camp in the media is we're there in person talking to these guys for the first time in more than a year, and being around Tyler Barron when he was saying this, and being around Hendon Hooker when he mentioned this is the most fun he's ever had with teammates, and for a guy in his 5th year in a college program, that's a pretty good statement. Things like that, they catch your attention. The vibe is noticeably different around these players. So like you said, John, you hear this around every staff, pretty much every new staff, because the message tends to get stale from any coaching staff. But I think this is noticeable because players are clearly having fun. And I think some of it's last year was miserable for everyone because of COVID, not getting to spend time around teammates. So I think players maybe aren't even taking that into consideration, but also they're clearly having more fun playing for this coaching staff. So I think it is a very noticeable difference.
And Jimmy, we've had you hit on this in each of the 3 subjects as 3 topics so far, but go ahead. What were you going to add?
Yeah, and I had talked to somebody that told me that had been around the program for a long time, that the morale and the atmosphere around the program last year, and I know COVID was a part of it, was the worst they'd ever seen. And this person had been there a long time. It's flipped. It's flipped because Heupel and the atmosphere, that there were players that didn't necessarily want to even come to practice or go to meetings. They were miserable. People on the staff that were not just assistant coaches but support staff weren't happy. A lot of that's changed, and a lot of it for the better. And I think you can motivate in 2 different ways, probably more than just 2, but you can motivate by fear and you can motivate by encouragement. And I think this staff has taken the encouragement route. It's probably what this team or these players have needed because they've been down. A lot of them have been down for a long time without having much success at Tennessee.
Yeah, and I think John Adams, I think, was one of the first that I saw use the phrase that Heupel is the anti-Pruitt. I mean, you've got like a defensive guy that was here before, had never been a head coach before at any level. You got Heupel who comes in, and when I saw they had like a kickball game, I'm thinking, well, now there's something that's fun. There's something that you get out and you think, who's going to do that? And I think that's a way, guys, you do build team chemistry. And, Jimmy, I think that's one thing that was sorely lacking last year. And you go back, and I've talked about it, all the poor second halves, what happened at halftime, and then what happened in the second half. So I think it's really good what you're seeing so far to start building this thing back up.
In part, I think it was also necessary because many coaches, they arrive on campus. I always quote Pat Ryan because he talked about the year Majors came in was the Baton Death March. In terms, most of these guys come in and they run off guys. We're going to make this the most grueling Paris Island type boot camp you've ever been through, and we're going to weed out the losers. you had so many guys leave that Heupel couldn't do that.
No.
and I don't know if that's his personality anyway. That's,
Yeah,
I mean,
agreed.
it's hard to believe that he's this fake, that this isn't real and really him. So it's smart from a business decision in terms of keeping a roster together, but also I think it's important just to take it from that. I mean, UT had a video that they put out this week. It's about 3 minutes long. You can find it on Twitter. They were just clips of Heupel going around practice telling guys, hey, we're going to make mistakes today. It's all right. We're going to get better every single day. Just go out there and have fun. Talking about, hey, if you see somebody that needs to be coached up, coach them up. Walks up to one player and says, it's okay to smile out here. You compare that to the last guy who, first year, goes out at halftime of the Alabama game, says on national television, well, we'll just have to get 25 new guys in here. Yeah, okay. That's which guy would you rather play for?
Yeah.
Now, the trick is, will any of that carry over?
Well-
He's got depth issues. The roster isn't great to begin with. You were 3-7 last year. How much of it is going to carry over? But I do think it is a breath of fresh air, and I think you have guys buying in that weren't in last year.
And when you think about it, guys, for Tennessee to even achieve a moderate level of success, I think they have to overachieve in several ways.
Yeah.
And I think this is the way you do that. You do this because you're having fun and you're playing for each other and you love your teammates.
One warning, and I'll go back to Butch Jones' first year when he came in after Dooley. And I talked to people inside that program and people inside the football offices who told me, oh my gosh, this guy's great. He's fantastic. He brought people in by department. It was like, how can I help you? The groundskeeper, instead of Dooley going around with the
Yeah.
ruler saying, the mortar here isn't deep enough. You had Butch telling the grass guys, how can I help you make your job better? They loved him. Then the job changed him. I talked to a guy at the
I
end
agree
of it.
with
I
that.
said, I thought you loved him. He said, I haven't seen that guy in a couple of years. Butch changed. The pressure and the reaction from fans and everything else, he cratered. So what we're seeing now from Heupel, is this going to be the same thing we get in 3 or 4 years? It can change. Hopefully this is more reality than slogans, so it doesn't change. But that's one caveat I'm putting on this is a word of warning that Butch was Mr. Positive when he arrived too, and everybody loved the breath of fresh air, and then it changed with him.
One reason it might not change with Heupel is he's been used to being around a big-time program. He was at Oklahoma for a while. What big-time program was Butch Jones around? I think the job got too big for Butch, and I think that's what ended up changing him. I don't think Heupel is as susceptible to that as Butch Jones was.
I also think there's value in the fact that most of these guys played, but he's a guy that played. He played the top position, was a runner-up for Heisman.
Right.
He's played at the most pressure-packed spot on a great team that you can play on. I think that's a benefit to him as well as in terms of knowing how to relate to players and the pressures they're already under.
Well, Butch Jones played in the band, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Pruitt played. All these guys were. None of them won any
walk-on at
Heismans.
Alabama.
Yeah. None of them were close to the Heisman race. You were going to say.
Yeah, two things on this. One, this is a younger staff. I think that's one of the reasons they're connecting better, that they understand, I think, this generation of players maybe a little bit better than the last staff did. And also just their backgrounds. Like Jimmy was pointing out, Josh Heupel's been in a big program, but he's also been at UCF, where you're not necessarily having guys line up to play there. At Alabama, Georgia, Florida State, everywhere Jeremy Pruitt had been, he felt like he was coaching the best of the best. You can take a more hard-nosed approach in a program like that. It's different when you're building back a program like Tennessee. This is much more the approach Tennessee needs to take to get the program back where it wants to be.
It would be, I'll put it this way. I never looked at Pruitt and thought, oh, it'd be a great story. I'm really pulling for that guy. Well, he's such a nice guy. I hope this works for him. I can say that with Heupel. He seems like a good guy. I'd hate to see him get crushed under the grinding giant wheel that this program is. It would be nice to see this kind of camaraderie, this kind of attitude rewarded. But it won't be. All right. When we come back, let's talk about the quarterback situation. Probably a quick segment. Did we hear anything this week that changed our minds about who's going to be the starter week 1? Where do we stand on that? Come on back on the Sports Source.